Welcome to the class 10 students. This is the part 2 of the chapter adaptation. In my previous video, I have completed till the swim bladder of fish and how it helps, how it has been one of the adaptive features of the fish. Okay, so moving forward with the next topic of this chapter, today I'll start. So we are doing adaptation. Okay, and today I'll start with the sundri trees. What adaptation the sundri trees have adapted. Okay, so let's start with it. We will talk about the physiological adaptive features in sundri plants. Okay, so you all have heard about sundri trees, which are the other name of mangrove trees, and they are found in Sundarban. Okay, from the sundri trees only the place is named as Sundarban. Now there is a specific mechanism of salt adaptation in sundri, since these plants live throughout the year in salty water, and there is excess salt is going inside the plants through the roots. So there should be a mechanism, there must be a special mechanism for the salt adaptation in these plants. Now as a result, sundri plants are known as halophytic plants, since they live in saline or salty water, and these plants have undergone certain adaptations so that they can live properly in salty or saline condition. Okay, so the adaptations include salt exclusion. The first point is salt exclusion. What does it mean by salt exclusion? They have these significantly impermeable roots, means impermeable means which cannot be penetrated, that are highly suberized. Now what do you mean by suberized? Means they have a high deposition of suberin, which is a protein. Okay, which what is the function of this suberin? What help does it do to the plants? It prevents entry of sodium salts. Okay, so even if they leave it salty water throughout the year, they have suberin on their roots, which prevent the entry of sodium salts, and it has been shown that approximately 90% of the salt has been excluded at the roots only by this special enzymatic mechanism. So although they live in salty water, about 90% of the salt is excluded from the roots only, means 90% of the salt cannot even enter the roots due to the presence of this protein known as suberin on the roots. Okay, so this is another picture of the pneumatophores, or the breathing roots of sundri trees. And the second point why the adaptation, or how sundri plants have adapted to this salty water, include salt secretion. So most of the salts that enter the roots, means 90% is excluded from the roots only 10% enters. Now most of this 10% is transported with water through the xylem to the leaves. Okay, so as these 10%, only 10% of the salt that enters the plants, most of it is transported or transferred to the leaves through the xylem vessels along with water. Okay, and sometimes there are some structures like salt glands which eliminate this extra salts, means this whatever salt that is entering, it is obviously unnecessary for the plant, for obviously it is excess. Okay, so it will be removed by the process of active transportation with the help of special enzymatic system, and there are special glands for that purpose known as salt gland. Okay, moving on to the next reason why or how they have adapted is salt storage. Within these cells, the salt is stored in the vacuole. You all know that vacuoles are there which help in storage of different things within the cell. So vacuoles are there, and within one such vacuole it will not be seen here because it is the internal structure, and within the vacuoles salt is stored, while organic solutes are stored in the cytoplasm. Okay, and the last point includes water conservation. There are thick leaves with leaf hair and waxy cuticle to prevent water loss by transportation, so that salt concentration is maintained in dilute form. Okay, so due to the presence of waxy thick leaves, transpiration is not properly taking place. As a result, water loss does not take place properly, and salt concentration is maintained. About the camel's adaptive features. So camel has this amazing ability to withstand extreme water loss while they are traveling great distances in the desert without food and water for several days, and that several days can be a week or even more than that. Okay, so the hump, as you can see in this picture, a hump is there. So this is the hump of the camel, and this hump is a source of energy and water for the camel. And now there are two types of camel: those who have one hump, like this one in this picture, and those who have two humps. Okay, so these humps, what do they do? As children, you may have heard that this hump stores water, but no, that is not correct. That is very much improper answer. The correct answer is that the hump stores fat, about 10 to 15 kg fat, and also protects other tissues from overheating during the sunburn, since they walk these great distances under extremely high temperature and under the sun. So there may be a heating issue of the tissues, means the tissues may get sunburned and get damaged, so that the protection of those tissues from being sunburned is also provided by this hump. Okay, the fat inside the hump is metabolized. It undergoes metabolism to produce water, so it doesn't directly store water, it stores fat which is metabolized to produce water. Okay, now we will talk about, here in this picture you can see a few adaptive features of the camel. So we will talk about all these features in details now. Okay, first point is thick skin. Okay, so camels have very thick skin which insulate them from the intense heat. Insulate means it acts like a protection or covering or like a blanket over their body, which doesn't allow the extreme heat to go inside and thus cause damage to the camel's body. So the thick skin of the camel's body acts like an insulator. Okay, point number 1 done. Next, point number 2 is tolerance of fluid loss. So they can lose up to 25% of their body fluid without showing any sign of dehydration. But we human beings, even if there is little amount of water loss and we don't intake the lost water, means we don't drink proper amount of water, and then there is high amount of water loss, we undergo dehydration, we fall ill. But camel can lose up to 25% of their body fluid without showing any sign of dehydration. Okay, and this provides an extra tolerance against their long-term water shortage. They can live for like a week or more than that without drinking water, but they don't even show any sign of dehydration. They can tolerate this loss of fluid condition. Okay, so this is also very much advantageous for them. Next is formation of dry feces. So dry feces means their feces, their excreta do not contain any water at all. That means they produce extremely dry feces, where the water loss is prevented by making it extremely dry, so that along with the feces water is not given out. Okay, Next points are body temperature and sweating. They can regulate their body temperature in a very special way, and their body temperature ranges from 34 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, so these are their range of body temperature. Moving on to next points, such as role of kidney also decreases the glomerular filtration rate. You have learned this glomerular filtrate or filtration rate in class 9 in excretion chapter. So when this rate is decreased, then the reabsorption rate of water is increased tremendously. Means they can reabsorb whatever water is being given out, so that no water loss takes place. Okay, now they have nostrils, which like here you can see that slit like nostrils. They are able to open and close to prevent sand. So their nostrils are very much flexible. They can open and close those nostrils according to their requirement. Okay, another point is that long and bushy eyelashes to keep the sand to keep out the sand and sun. So they have very long and bushy eyelashes, so even if there is a sandstorm, they can close their eyes and their eyes will be saved from the sand. Okay, so these are the different adaptive features of camel.